Hey San Antonio, how's it going? This is Wes Tribbey. I'm here today speaking with someone specifically about a very important topic for your mortgage payment. One of the things that is interesting about a mortgage, a lot of times you'll get on Zillow, you'll be looking at monthly payments on, let's just say a home purchase. Let's see that home purchase is at $300,000, right? You might see on Zillow that it shows the monthly payment on that at $1,800, $1,900 a month, something to that effect. But a lot of times what people don't realize is the way that that is advertised on Zillow is you're gonna have the $300,000 purchase price. They're probably gonna take 20% off that, assuming you're putting a 20% down payment on the property. And then they're not including homeowner's insurance, they're not including mortgage insurance, and they're not including property taxes. So the big thing that really actually that generally makes that payment much higher, oftentimes, more than say $2,400, is the property taxes themselves. So today I have a guest with me, Adam Merhi, who is running for Bexar County tax assessor. The actual election is coming up on March 5th. So the other night I ran into Adam, he and I started talking, and I just thought he would be the perfect person to have on, specifically because when we talk about property taxes and everything that has happened in San Antonio, in Bexar County over the last, say, 3 to 5 years, it's amazing that, maybe 2019, 2018, the average purchase price in San Antonio might have been something as little as like $175,000, $200,000. Now that same purchase price is up to $400,000. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna have Adam introduce himself and just tell us a little bit about himself and why he's running for tax assessor.
Hi everybody, my name is H. Merhi, the second in the ballot, and I will reduce taxes to where it was the second I take office. I'm running for Bexar County Tax Assessor Collector to reduce taxes, reduce mortgage, reduce rent, and reduce grocery bill. That means reduce property assessment, because properties were assessed much higher than their fair, valid market price, and I don't believe that's correct or that's appropriate. The current tax assessor always say, it's not my work, it's the appraisal district work.
Right.
And it's wrong, and it's not true, or negligence, one or the other. Because the appraisal district is appointed by a board.
Sure.
And the board are 8 people.
Okay.
3 people should be elected by the county-wide voters, and 5 people appointed by the tax assessor collector. So the tax assessor collector really is the one who controls the board. Now, this is not the issue we have. The issue we have is taxes went up last year between 30% to 500%.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, and my taxes, my own house, went from $10,006 to $18,000.
Right.
Yes, great. We have tax breaks for our seniors, our elderly.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
But we don't have tax breaks for us, anybody under 65.
Sure.
So my
average
parents,
citizen.
my great grandparents are good, but what about myself and you and the listeners now?
Sure.
So, and there's no payment plan. Whether you pay it one lump sum or on 2 payments or goodbye. So what if I don't have money today, or I have something happened and I'm short in cash?
Correct. Yeah, one of the things that you and I talked about when we decided to do this was the fact that when oftentimes what will happen for people is, let's say they do get, behind on those taxes. I mean, really, you don't have very much time to set up anything with the county. I mean, you could try to set up a payment plan, you could try to do certain things with them, but if you can't negotiate that, if you can't get that done, oftentimes what's going to happen is they're going to allow those property taxes to be sold off as property tax certificates, which means someone else goes in, pays your property taxes for you, puts a lien on your property, and then tries to collect essentially. And then if they can't, if something goes wrong, then it's my understanding that they can then foreclose on that lien position for for very little money, for the money of the taxes, which
That-
then basically puts a permanent lien on that property.
That's correct. That's one of the avenues they are using, which is, in fact, it's very narrow avenue.
Yeah.
What's really happening is the tax office hire lawyers from Austin,
Sure.
and by July, if you don't pay by the end of January, from January till July, you incurred 50% more than any credit card in the world
Wow.
in fees, penalties on your taxes by July. August, the lawyer in Austin will start contact you, send you mail, call you, harass you, and sue you within 30 days.
Wow.
So you are sued by the county representative, which is the lawyer hired in Austin. And the moment you are sued, that 50% increased another 50% lawyer fees. Now, and they will file a lawsuit against you, and they are doing this really quickly. Within 2-3 months, you are out. They are taking judgment, and you are another 2-3 months, you are out of your house. So this is the scary part. So you really don't have more than 1 year wiggle, But let's say you got sued, you went to court, they have a judgment against you, they immediately start foreclosure.
Yeah.
The funny and interesting part to me is before those foreclosures even go to the market, you find people start buying them,
Right.
and on a promissory note from the county. This is, number one, unethical, and this is pretty much unconstitutional and unheard of.
So in effect, you could actually have a home where, let's say, like my grandmother, right, where she owned a home for 30 plus years, paid the mortgage on it, paid it completely off, got it done. Even if, as an example, once you get to a certain age, once you're at 65, I think that they do cap or freeze those property taxes. But if, as an example, you had a paid off home and she, let's say, gave that property to my father or someone else who isn't 65, well, then you could have a situation there where whatever the assessed value now is on the home, you could have a paid off home and be paying $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month, depending on the area of town that it's actually in. And if you don't have the money to pay that, then they could have, in effect, take your home.
Yes, and immediately, really quickly. Like other counties, those things, like when I used to be treasurer in Brewster County, it used to take them around 5 years to do that. Because they give a break to people, people not doing well. 5 years, then okay, this person's not making it.
Right.
Here, you don't even finish a year. I had a property in the south side, Southtown, and I forgot it completely to pay taxes. My personal assistant moved to California. I got a little bit in limbo. I have 2 businesses. I'm a pretty busy guy. And I forgot to pay taxes on it.
Sure.
And the taxes on it, that's the funny part, was around, it's very small little property. It was $4,500. Suddenly, in August, I'm getting all those phone calls from the lawyer and they file a lawsuit. Now, I look what I owe, $4,500 taxes, penalty fees, and whatever kind of,
Penalties.
penalty fees and lawyer fees. It was $18,000.
Wow. 4,500 to 18,000, that's a huge jump.
Right, like even if I am able to pay the 4,500,
Yeah, that's a 400% increase. That's huge.
right,
Yeah.
and people actually know that who went through this, they know that. Like some of the precinct chairs in the political parties,
Sure.
they have gone through this themselves. One of them was short on taxes, $450. And she ended up by August, sued, etc., and she has to pay $4,700.
Wow. Yeah.
So if I made that 4,500 by August, it's not 4,500 anymore. So to me, it is pretty much, a systematic gentrification process to the city.
Sure.
To me, it is forcing foreclosures and eviction. And this is, to me, become a social issue. And this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is a human rights issue. This is people issue.
Well, it's the most important issue that there is. I mean, what's more important than your home?
Right.
You know, or if you're a business, I mean, there's a whole nother aspect of that too, which is, you know, not just property assessments, but also there's personal property or personal property taxes as it's related to businesses as well. So anytime that you're a business that operates here in San Antonio, the county will assess your personal property, whatever it is that they feel like you have basically supplied, if you will, to the business itself, and they'll give it a certain value and they will tax you on that as well. So if you're a business owner, you know, that's another thing that
You have to deal with.
you have to deal with. You have to deal with on a yearly basis.
I'm glad you stressed on this point, because this point is critical. What people don't understand, the grocery cost is not because the inflation. Part of it is for the inflation, but the bigger part is because of the county business personal property taxes.
Sure.
All grocery stores, big names, small names, they are taxed. They pay property taxes, real property taxes, and they pay personal property taxes on every checkout machine, every fridge, every stand, everything they use to sell the grocery, they are taxed on. And last year increased 30%.
I think HEB actually probably was the most heavily taxed entity in the
Correct.
city, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you go in and say, all right, number one, you can't increase 30% because the statute of limitation and Texas Constitution, you cannot increase more than 10%.
Right.
So because people don't know what's happening,
Sure.
and unfortunately not fully educated in this fashion, they are just taking it and move on. And this is where our movement is like, no, we are not gonna take it anymore. You are not gonna take it alone. We're gonna all gather together and it take a village to change, and we're gonna change this. This is wrong. So there's so many people overpaid in taxes last year. They all gonna be refunded, because it's very easy for all those people to gather and have a class action lawsuit against the county. So we want to also to protect our county, not just
Sure.
protect the taxpayer. Like today, I go to HEB, as you mentioned, I pay $100 to buy 2 bags of grocery. The same 2 bags, I buy them in Houston for $70.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, the inflation is national
Sure.
in the whole country. Now, why in San Antonio is much more Houston? San Antonio is equate in business person property taxes to Austin. I used to go to Austin if I wanted something from HEB. It's much more expensive than San Antonio. So if I'm not really in need for it, I will
You
wait
can
to wait to come back home. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm
You're
talking
making the
about like
drive.
the simple watermelon. Go HEB here, $6.99. In Austin, $8.99.
Yeah.
So that's very simple example.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
that has to be cut. And also some other properties were increased 500%. I have them in one of my debates, and you can see pictures how this property went from 50,000 to 106,000.
Yeah.
That's 200%.
Sure.
So the taxes, when the assessment went up 200%, then the taxes of it went 200%. There is a lot here on 281, very close to this actually, where we are in this beautiful 12th floor view. We are in 281. There is a lot was appraised at 470,000, and they used to pay around 9,000 something dollars. Now they are paying $90,000. And it's appraised at 4.8 million.
My
1 year
goodness.
jumped like that. And I have it from the county record. So I'm not sure how is that even legal.
Or
at this
possible.
point. Or possible.
Right. Like if you were going to put that actually on the market, raw land, could you actually sell it for that amount of money?
Right.
Which is sometimes often the different thing. Like if you're a homeowner and you're buying a house, obviously if it's your primary residence and it is your homestead, obviously you can apply for a homestead exemption, which is definitely great. I mean, it is going to decrease the taxes or the tax assessed value.
Right.
But if you're not, one of the things that I do for my customers, I do this for them every year, is I like to take a look for them at their tax assessed value. And if they need to or want to have help in terms of disputing that value, then that's something that you can do. You can set up a dispute with the county. You can get certain things basically done, right? Like you could go around your house, take pictures and say, okay, this, I got a leaky faucet here, the fascia, is rotted out there. You go around and basically give them all the reasons why that tax assessed value is wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really, even if you do dispute it, it's not up to you, it's up to a board or a panel of appraisers who then review that information, and then it almost kind of becomes like a negotiation in a way, right? Where they're like, well, yeah, maybe we assess it at this, but maybe we'll just take off XYZ for the damages, quote unquote, that are on your home. So it's, I think that there could be a much better way, certainly to allow for people to plan and understand what that tax assessed value is and how that is going to affect their monthly payment. Because I'm sure there are a ton of people out there who started off with a certain mortgage payment, went a year, right? Like let's say they bought it in February of last year, they get to May of this year, they'll get a letter, right? Yes. And it basically is going to outline the escrow, right? And if that tax assessed value went up, then basically there's going to be an adjustment made on for the payment. And oftentimes, I mean, that could be $100, $200, $300. I mean, it could be significant.
Well, to comment on that, I have employees from both my companies came to me. It's like, my mortgage went up $800. It's like, what? No notice. Suddenly, your mortgage is now not $1,200, it's $2,000.
Sure.
My rent went up for $500. My mortgage went up $400. I was blown away. And then, it clicked finally. It's like, I had a land. It was 200 something thousand worth. And then suddenly they increase it 500%. I have to sell it. Right. Because whether I have money to pay taxes or not, it's not feasible to keep it. Sure. We'll never get that point, Right. So, and our grandparents used to say, invest in real estate and gold. Well, in this county is not true anymore if this is gonna keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
I've often told people, I think that, San Antonio, I mean, really a lot of the cities in Texas, but certainly San Antonio is kind of on deck, if you will, to kind of go the way of California. I mean, we've seen huge increases in property values in Austin, certainly because of a lot of the people that are moving from other states like California, New York, etc., and then moving kind of to these areas where, hey, there is no, I mean, I guess the argument from one standpoint could be, hey, there's no state tax, so because there's no state tax, that's why property taxes are the way they are. However, you still have to have, I mean, you have the citizens that are already here, that already live here, and so, there should be a way to kind of mitigate that for them and allow them to keep their property and not have to, have individuals who are moving in from California or moving in from other parts of the nation who have state taxes and who have high property taxes and who are selling homes at $1 million, and that's normal. That's not normal for us, and that's so we got to figure out a way to make that right. And really, when it comes to, I think, affordable housing, which is something that I would say everybody talks about, right, is first-time home buyers, affordable housing, things where, younger generations, my son's generation, my daughter's generation, they're going to have to buy homes, right? I mean, the first home that I bought was, I think, $120,000. I think my monthly payment on that when I first got it was $840 a month.
Yeah, good luck with that.
There's no way.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, no, man. I mean, they're going to have roommates, they're going to have to rent out part of their house. I mean, they're going to have to come up with creative ways to actually do that and own real estate, unless, maybe I gift them property. I mean, that might be the only, difference or way that they could kind of get around that. But anyway, man, I think that property taxes for sure are a very important issue. I do believe, what's interesting about it is, so for a tax assessor collector, I'm a Republican, right? But there are no Republicans
Opponent.
running at all. Like if you weren't running in this race, your SC would be going unopposed.
Right.
Period.
And he's been there for the heck ever.
Yeah, for a long time. And I mean, and it's not, I would have nothing negative to say about anybody, but I do think that there are things that our county leadership and people that are in place to make these decisions and get some things done
Yeah.
could actually do to help just the average Joe, right? I mean, and help us to get to a better place. So which is an interesting thing, right? So on March 5th, in effect, right? I mean, as a Republican for myself, essentially I would have to, if I wanted to vote on this specific issue, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I would basically have to vote as an independent.
Or Democrat.
Or a Democrat.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me explain to you something about this. And I will come back also to a point you mentioned. Like, there must be a way to protect San Antonians and protect this La Familia culture that Republicans and Democrats and Independent and all of us in the city love about San Antonio, and that's why we live here. Whether we have money to move or not, we love it because this is the only big city in the United States have this La Familia culture and small town feel, and
Sure.
it's safe.
Right.
The only city don't have corruption or organized corruption in law enforcement, don't have organized corruption in public officials, don't have serious gangs. There is little pockets here and here, some little kids
Right.
pretend to be something, but
Sure.
that's all about it.
Sure.
So we can protect San Antonians and Republicans and everyone else. This is a human being, a humanitarian, and a human rights issue. For all of us to stay in our homes and not be evicted
Sure.
and not be foreclosed on. I don't care if you are Republican, Democrat, Independent. It's not about parties now. We all have to unite and become one body. It takes a village to make a change, and I believe in San Antonians that they're gonna be able to make a change, no matter where you're coming from and what's your background. So if you go in the primary between actually February 20 to March 5th, so
Okay.
they have a 15 days, not just March 5th, tell me, hey, I'm busy on March 5th. You have from February 20 to March 5th. Go either vote in independent ticket or go vote in Democrat ticket. Get your taxes. Vote for H. Merhi, tax assessor collector, to reduce the taxes. And the second, I'm in the second in the ballot, and the second I take office, your taxes will be reduced. People will be refunded for any overly illegal paid taxes last year. So it's the time where we all unite, put our hands together, and make a change.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I would definitely look at the situation right now and just know if you are a homeowner, if you are a real estate investor, if you are wanting to become a future home buyer, the basic things that most people want to know when they're buying a home. Number one, what's the price? Number two, how much money is it going to cost me, right? Money down, out of pocket.
Right.
And then three, what is my monthly payment? And that monthly payment is made up of principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and that's it. That's what basically outlines your monthly payment. So if you want to keep your taxes low, I definitely think that new leadership would be highly advisable, and I do think that Haddam and H. Merhi, if you are going to be voting anytime between the 20th and the 5th, definitely go to his website. Now, how do people get to your website? What is a place that they can find you?
It is www.voteformerhi.com. VOTEFORMERHI.com. And if you Google me, I'm all over the place.
Okay.
News, newspapers, etc. Political lens. What we need to do is go vote. Even if you don't like to vote for me, just go vote and voice your opinion. Now,
Fantastic.
if people choose to vote for the candidate who's already in office for a long time, this is their choice, and everyone respect that.
Sure.
That's the great thing about this country is democracy.
Yeah.
Let's all go vote and show our decision at the polls.
Fantastic. Well, man, I appreciate you being here today, and so I do appreciate it very much. And let's get you home, San Antonio.